So, good morning, everyone. It's a great joy and honor to be here in your beautiful country with a rich history of Buddha Dharma. As you all know, Buddhism was originated in India and then it spread and flourished in many countries, like the Pali tradition that is found in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, and so on, and the Sanskrit tradition that is found in countries like China, Korea, Japan, and eventually Tibet and Mongolia. Initially, we Tibetans were rather reluctant to receive Buddhism. They thought that their native religion of shamanism was adequate enough for them. And then slowly, eventually, they started adopting Buddha Dharma and then the way of life. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we are the last country to receive Buddhism. So whenever His Holiness Dalai Lama meets with fellow Korean monastics, he would often say that you guys are the elder ones. So I offer my deep bow and respect to our elder Dharma brothers and sisters here. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank and also express my deep gratitude to Chogye Order. Under the spiritual leadership, guidance, care, and of course loving kindness of much respected, much loved, most venerable Jinwu and the members of the esteemed Sangha. And I offer my humble prayer that the aspiration that you have for this Sun Meditation Summit brings about the fruition, so that people of Korea can be happy and peaceful. Because if Koreans are happy and peaceful, and what a wonderful gift that is for our future. So the world is you and you are the world. Thank you very much.
감사합니다.
That's the end of my talk.
그것이 제 법문의 끝입니다.
No, I'm joking. I think it's important to bring a little bit of humor into this sometimes. We are too serious. Humor and humanity need to go together. For me, to be human means to have humor. To be able to live means to be able to laugh. I remember once a teacher said that whenever you give a discourse of Dharma, and you throw in a little bit of humor, and they laugh and they open their mouth, and then that's when you drop the pill of Dharma. With that little bit of laughter and maybe some ease, then we can begin. So I'll begin with a brief chanting in the beginning, invoking the sacred presence of the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, and also as a way of cultivating our motivation. In other words, giving rise to the spirit of bodhicitta. Yeah? Going for refuge gives you the direction towards a safer and constructive one. Giving rise to bodhicitta gives you the reason why we are going in that direction. Bodhicitta gives you a reason why you are going in that direction. Because for us Buddhists, it's not so important what we do, but it's more important why we do what we do. Because it's not a system that encourages one to have what we call a blind faith. And this is why sometimes I tell my friends that Buddhism is not a religion because it does not come with the answer. In fact, if you look at the life of Buddha, his life journey began with the question, why is there suffering? Therefore, also, I think, even when we meditate, also it's important why we are meditating as well. Because meditation is a tool, just like a hammer can be a tool to build something, or this very hammer can be a tool to destroy, or like the fuel that can be used to take you from a place of departure to the point of destination. The very fuel can be used to burn and cause destruction. And so therefore, that spirit of genuine compassion, the altruism, is a very important factor in determining the outcome of whatever endeavor you follow. Because meditation sometimes can be a way of withdrawing yourself from the world. And that, don't disturb me or don't mess with me. I'm trying to meditate or I need to meditate. We are not alone. We are always in relationship with others. So we need to stay connected in this world. So that compassionate motivation needs to be incorporated. This is something that I cannot stress enough. So as I briefly chant this, you can join me in your own way of praying or chanting. So you can fold your hand at your heart in a prayer mood, in a contemplative mood. And not just uttering these words without any meaning, but try to process the meaning as we go for refuge and what it means to go for refuge. And as we cultivate the spirit of bodhicitta, what it means to have the genuine concern for the welfare of others. Sangye chodon soge donan la chanjo bardo dane kyalsan che dagi jizan jebe sonan ki dola benje sanje ndor jo semjen tamje dewa deve yuzan dembar gyuji semjen tamje donga zan donga ge yudan dawar yuji semjen tamje donga mebe dewa tambar me dewa yuji semjen tamje niren chalan nidan dawe tanyum chenbu neba yuji. Now with this short invocation and prayers, now maybe we'll do a short sitting. When I say sit, you're already sitting. What I mean by sit is bring your mind here, to this moment, to this reality of nowness. If you can assume the posture of meditation, and then perhaps maybe closing your eyes will help, because that will kind of steer you away from the distraction that arises from the visual sensation. So body is still,
몸을 고요하게 하고요.
speech naturally the flow of your breathing. Mind at ease and at peace, just dropping your mind into your body. You're not trying to get somewhere, not trying to achieve anything, just learning to be here, what you are aware of right now. Whatever is it that you're experiencing, non-conceptually, not just the sound of my voice, but feeling in your body. Instead of trying to overcome any unpleasant feeling, or control any feeling, not thinking about the past, nor anticipating the future. Past is something that we cannot change, so no point in worrying about it. It's finished. As for the future, now is this very moment. This is the place where you make your future. So whatever you are aware of, please respond with kindness. Now I'll keep quiet for maybe a few minutes, and then I'll let you enjoy. Alright, so the teaching that we are about to embark upon is called 8 Verses of Mind Training. So this particular teaching belongs to the category of teaching known as Lojong. And when you translate it into English, it means training the mind. In fact, the Tibetan word Lojong comprises of 2 syllables, Lo and Jong. Lo means thought, attitude, while Jong has several meanings. So Jong can refer to training whereby you acquire a specific skill. You have a master skill of knowledge. Jong can also mean habituation and familiarization with specific ways of being. The very word Jong can also refer to cultivating a specific mental attitude, such as compassion, or what we call universal compassion, the awakening mind. And the 4th meaning of Jong is cleansing of the 3 root poisons of the mind: excessive desire, hatred, and naivety or ignorance. I don't know, if you've ever been to a Tibetan monastery, you will often find this diagram right at the gate. And right at the center of the wheel, there are these 3 animals, symbolizes these 3 predominant negative emotions. The rooster, which is desire, the snake, which is hatred, and the pig, which is ignorance. Pig is the main boss. If you want to get to the bottom of a dilemma, your problem, you got to get the pig. Yeah, it's the ignorance that gives rise to all the other negative emotions. In Sanskrit, we call it avidya. Yeah, not knowing the cause and effect relationship. Because in fact, it is, I think you could say that nobody intends to do things such as harmful act, deliberately, knowingly, consciously, had it not been under the influence of ignorance and these defilements. If they knew that what they were doing, when they were doing, which would result in their future suffering, they would be the first one to alarm themselves, how could I do such a thing to the very person I love, which will result in my suffering as well as suffering of others. So it's good to know that all the mistakes were not conscious state, they were called mistake. You mistook it. It's an English word, play a word. It's not a conscious state, it was a mistake. You're instigated by ignorance. So ignorance is the mother of all the defilements. Once the ignorance is diminished, then everything else is taken care of. So Jom means cleansing or purification of these three afflicted emotions. So Lojong basically means training the mind. In this case, training your thought. Because if you train your thought, then your mind will be trained as well. And the key purpose of this training is derived from the Mahan attitude of reversing our current habitual pattern of thinking slowly of oneself into thinking of others. As it is stated, I think in Guided Devotional Way of Life, as it is stated in the Devotional Way of Life, ordinary beings work for themselves, therefore they end up in samsara. Again, I'm just paraphrasing it, yeah? Enlightened beings work for the benefit of others, therefore they have reached the state of nirvana. So look at the difference between the two. There is no argument needed. Shantideva further went to say that all the suffering days in the world comes from thinking of oneself. All the happiness days in the world comes from thinking of others. So Lojong teaching is about cultivating that heart of genuine compassion. Because if you take care of others, you're automatically taking care of yourself. I have another quotation from another teacher. He says, Lojong teaching presents the possibility of entire change of attitude. We could relate compassionately with others rather than push away. We could learn to give away and share that we hold most dear. This practice shows us how to work with open-heartedly with life, just as it is, whether painful or pleasurable. He says here, through Lojong practice, we come to have a sense of letting an experience be as it is, without trying to push away or grasp at it, or try to manipulate them. The pleasurable aspect of being human, as well as the painful ones, therefore becoming the key to awakening the Bodhisattva. Now, as far as the historical background of this Lojong, this is according to Nalanda tradition. So when we speak about the lineage of the teaching of the Buddha, when you think about the lineage of the teaching, we can speak of lineage of the profound teaching. This would be teaching on voidness, on emptiness, which came from Nagarjuna and Manjushri and so on. Then we have the vast teaching that came from, vast teaching refers to the teaching on bodhicitta that came from Buddha Maitreya through Asanga, and also through Shantideva. Then there is a third lineage that's called, sometimes spoken of, which is something like what we are doing here, the practice of Lojong. And you can also speak of the lineage of Tantra, but that's not Sutrayana, that's more Tantrayana. The lineage of Mahasiddha. So where does the Lojong teaching come from? Of course, no teacher can expound anything that's not already been taught by the Buddha. No teacher can expound anything that has not been taught by the Buddha. Yeah. All of this teaching came from the inspiration of the 84,000 discourses. So, let's now go into the main body of the teaching. So if you turn your attention to the handouts, you have those verses. There are 8 verses. Maybe we will recite this together.
모든 존재의 안녕을 위해 깨달음을 얻으리라는 생각으로 소원을 들어주는 복을보다 더 소중한 그들을 항상 소중히 여기며 수행하리라.
So this is quite clear. So when we talk about wish-fulfilling gem or the wish-granting gem, it's talking about some kind of a mythical thing in ancient India that when you wish something, your wishes will be granted and fulfilled. So here, it says here, may I always cherish all limited beings by considering far more superior than wish-granting gems. Yeah, reason why we consider sentient beings far more precious than wish-fulfilling gem is because the wish-fulfilling gem may be able to give you possessions, house, status, position, power, and so on, but they're all temporal, they are transient, they're impermanent, and they end up becoming the further cause of suffering. Whereas thinking of sentient beings more precious than wish-fulfilling gem means you are accomplishing the highest aim of attaining enlightenment. So basically it's a question of where is your priority? What do you value most? Temporal happiness or long-term happiness? I think it's quite clear when we have practiced bodhicitta, then sentient beings are the object. When you practice refuge, then the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha is the object of merit fear. So there's no one greater than sentient beings, because without practicing bodhicitta with sentient beings, you will never achieve the state of Buddhahood. That's why one Lama used to say that may I always have more irritating people around me, because then that gives him the opportunity to practice patience. Because normally, what is our instinctive habit? We try to avoid these people and situations. When you really practice compassion, then you actually welcome them, you embrace them. This is really good. This is really good. It's good for you. Lots of opportunity to practice Bodhisattva. His own as Dalai Lama, he says, our lives are not very long, 100 years at the most. If throughout their duration we try to be kind, warm-hearted, concerned with the welfare of others, less selfish, less angry, that will be wonderful and excellent. That will be a cause of happiness. Yeah, he says it doesn't matter whether you believe in next life or whether you will go to Pure Land or whether you're Buddhist or Christian or non-believer, doesn't matter. As long as you cultivate the spirit of genuine compassion, that is the heart of the essence of all the religion. I often say this, the wisdom exists in all the religion, but the uniqueness of Buddhism is that we have what we call technology, the methodology aspect of how to eradicate this disturbing emotion and give rise to genuine heart of compassion. Yeah, so here it's about training the mind, right? So now what we do is we try to imagine whenever we confront with any kind of adverse situation or circumstances and think that depending on this person, that my enlightenment will be reached. My enlightenment depends on this drunk individual who just got on the bus. My enlightenment depends on this suicide bomber that has caused a lot of destruction. My enlightenment depends on these leaders that are crooked or that are difficult. All of them are equally precious. Equally precious. Because they all have the same wish just as you do. They want to be happy, they don't want to suffer. But they don't realize that the cause of happiness, in other words, they want happiness but they're not creating any cause of happiness. They don't want suffering but they keep creating the cause of suffering. So their aim and action are completely in contrary. So your heart goes out for them. Your heart goes out to them, even more so. And furthermore, the fact that we are alive, everything that we have, from the food, the clothing, the shelter, the medicine, it all came from others. You came to this world naked. Nothing with you, not even your MasterCard. If you lose a wish-looking jewel, it's not a huge loss. But if you leave one sentient being, then if you leave behind one sentient being, then you are jeopardizing your highest spiritual aspiration. So as I'm sharing with you these words, these insights that come from these great masters, it will be good to not only listen but also try to open your heart to actually process these things. So thereby be able to have small little shift in your attitude. Then verse number 2. Let's read this together.
다른 사람들과 함께 있을 때는 내 자신을 모든 이들 가운데 가장 낮은 자로 보고 마음 깊은 곳에서 우러나오는 존경으로 그들을 최상으로 받들리라.
Now this verse is considering, in the first verse we were considering sentient beings more precious than wish-looking jewel. Now here in this second verse, then it's saying, when you're in company of others, you consider yourself the lowest amongst all. Again here, in the West, we have this psychological issues, particularly pertaining to the idea of low self-esteem, and self-hate. This is not what we are saying here. Holding ourselves lowest doesn't mean we hate ourselves or we look down upon ourselves or we think we are worthless. It simply means that we stop making a big deal about ourselves. That everything should revolve around me. Isn't that the mantra we wake up with every day? What about me? What about me? What about me? From morning till the night. Whether we had a good day or bad day is dependent upon whether things went according to your wants and your wishes. Whether I got to be in the first in line. Whether I got the best piece of the pie. Whether I was able to overtake the traffic and therefore outdo all the others. I want everybody to acknowledge me. I want everybody to appreciate me. I want everybody to know how great I am and what I have to offer. How come people don't see this wonderful quality I have? I want to be right. I want to be loved, So all these thoughts revolve around me. And in fact, according to research, they show that people who often start the sentence with a lot of I have higher risk of heart attack. So what it's really saying is that when we say, when I'm with others, lowest of all means suddenly there's a space. Bubble pops that I'm not special, that we all are special. Yeah. And then we become overly sensitive and not react. We respond with kindness, forgiveness, not with our habitual tendencies and patterns of reaction and overreaction. So when someone looks at us, instead of saying, what does he think of himself? Does he think he's better than me? Does he think he's smarter than me? We always have this mind that has a little bit of, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So basically it's to train our mind to drop the self-preoccupation. Then verse number 3.
세 번째 읽을까요? 같이 읽을까요? 모든 행동에서 내 마음을 살피고 나와 타인을 위험에 빠뜨리는 불편한 마음이 일어나는 순간 당연히 맞서고 그것을 피하리라.
So now we saw the disadvantages, the ill effects of thinking about ourselves, and we saw the benefit and the advantages of thinking of others. So now what prevents us from actually thinking about others are the disturbing emotions. So here we need to check our mind with alertness, with mindfulness. When they come to your mind, how they debilitate you. Yeah? And so therefore we have to apply the antidote. So there are 3 ways to go about it pertaining to these 3 predominant negative emotions. Yeah, so when it comes to, let's say, working or applying the forceful means to overcome attachment, we have to study attachment. We have to understand what are we attached to. So what is attachment first? In Buddhist understanding, it refers to a mental attitude to be exaggerated and superimposed upon the object or a person or an idea. We think it's fabulous, it's amazing, and then we cling to it, we grasp to that, and we don't want to be separated from it. We think that is a source of happiness. So when we don't have this attitude training, then what we do is that when we put such a power over someone or something, then they will not be able to live up to our expectation for long. Either because you're basically burdening themselves with a responsibility they'll not be able to live with. At some point they're going to disappoint you or you're going to disappoint them. And this is when the relationship gets sour. Yeah? And it's not the problem with the object, but it's a subjective mind that is not seeing things correctly. So when you have a genuine sense of well-being, where you're connected with the essence of that love, the compassion within, then you can still have relationships, but there will be a lot of admiration, there will be a lot of respect, there will be companionship, but without putting too much pressure. There will be ease about, the equation. Yeah. Then the other method of overcoming or counteracting attachment, according to the teaching, then it says you meditate on the ugliness of the appearance that you are attracted to. The reality of what you are attracted to. Yeah. Whether the nature of the body is actually that attractive to where you want to grasp. Are you really seeing the true nature of what you are? Such as the body, right? Like if you were to take the skin off, there will be blood and pus and all of those things. And then are you still able to maintain that sense of, So then with anger, then we connect with love, cultivate love. With ignorance, then we meditate on 12 links of dependent arising. With ignorance, we meditate on 12 links of dependent arising. Then on a subtle level, we can use dependent arising as a reason to establish that all phenomena are devoid of truly established existence. Okay, so with the little time that we have, let's just read the remaining verses together.
Okay. 부정적인 에너지와 깊은 고통에 사로잡힌 나쁜 성격을 가진 사람을 만날 때마다 그런 드문 존재를 마치 귀한 고래를 발견한 것처럼 소중히 여기리라. 질투나 다른 번뇌의 감정으로 인해 누군가가 나를 헐뜯고 비방하며 불안하게 대할 때 나는 패배를 받아들이고 그들에게 승리를 바치는 수행을 하리라. 내가 도움을 주고 크게 밀었던 사람이 나에게 큰 상처를 주었을 때 나는 그 사람을 최고의 스승으로 여기며 수행하리라. 그런데 나는 모든 존재, 나의 어머니들에게 직접적으로나 간접적으로 모든 이로움과 행복을 바치리라. 은밀히 그들의 모든 해로운 행동과 고통을 내가 기꺼이 대신 받으며 수행하리라. 모든 현상을 허망한 것으로 인식하여 이 수행들이 8가지 세속적인 관심으로 더럽혀지지 않게 하며 모든 중생들이 괴로운 마음과 업장의 속박에서 벗어나게 하기 위해 집착하지 않고 수행하리라.
So I finally end with the word of advice from the Honorable Dalai Lama. So he says, mental development will take time. Early on it may seem difficult, but it becomes easier with familiarity. Don't entertain unrealistic expectations. Mental transformation doesn't take place quickly. It requires patience, determination. It may take 2 months, or 2 years, or 2 eons. But you do know where you're going. Destination is not important. This is something I always share with my friends, that for a Buddhist, time is not of the essence, because we always can come back. That each and every one of you will attain enlightenment. And I'm not just saying to sound nice, because I have a reason. The reason is that we all have an instinctive wish to be happy. That instinct will lead you to Buddhahood. So here, His Holiness ends here with this special verse. He says, for as long as space endures, for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. Thank you.